Hello, my name is Sapp, and today I've decided to discuss Bessie Head as we studied her in our module for the South African literature. I really just wanted to discuss how Bessie Head really focuses on the injustice of South Africans as a whole, but more importantly, the women that are in the villages. As we know from the modules and what we've been writing over and studying and learning in the past, that the South Africans were completely mistreated. For example, the apartheid, which is the simple legal way to allow the mistreatment of the Africans. We read that melanin was shown on a color bar to show like what level of like African color they were. And that was just overall, not just singling out women. But as we go to single out women, we see that Bessie Head discusses how the women are mistreated, and we really see this in her story, The Collector of Treasures, which is the title of the whole collection of her personal stories that she's written. We see that in The Collector of Treasures that it's very provocative. We read that I cannot pronounce the main character's name, or else I will butcher it, but we see that she has cut off her husband's genitals. And I think that the reason Bessie Head wrote her character this way is to really capture like how serious and how mistreated the women are in these villages, because they've been separated and sent onto these, I believe they're called homelands, just live there. They cannot leave, only the men can leave. So we see that the women were completely mistreated enough that she cut off her husband's genitals. We read that she gets sent to prison, and there she befriends these other women who have also cut off their husband's genitals, so they're all in the prison for the same crime. And we read how they all go on to speak about how they understand each other through the mistreatment by their husbands. We go to read that one of the women states on page 91, she says, "There were really only two kinds of men in the society. The one kind created such misery and chaos that he could be broadly damned as evil." So we read the first kind of men is what they probably have experienced. The kind of a man that just causes nothing but corruption and is evil. He has no responsibility for his actions. The people that have to take responsibility for the actions of that kind of man that can be found in like the African village would be the women. They're held responsible for whatever actions their husbands have caused. And then we go to see that Bessie Head talks about how the men are the causes for what the women have experienced. She talks about, to this day, on page 92, she says, "To this day, women still suffered from all the calamities," which the calamities being what the men have done, "that befall an inferior form of human life." She goes to talk about how the men they're the downfall. That the men in the society are the downfall of what has caused to them. But on the plus side, Bessie Head uses The Collector of Treasures to say that it's finding something good in the bad, pretty much. And I personally think that the treasure in her story is her befriending all these women that understand what she's going through. Like, they understand the actions that she took. Bessie Head was not had much recognition and acceptance during this time because she was going against the normalities. And I think that the way she writes her stories being so provocative, that's the only way she can really get through to her audience and other people who are reading her stories, to show how important it is to essentially call out what is wrong, like what is wrong in her country and her society. And I think reading it now, it's even more relevant today as we see what is going on personally in our country. I mean, I think that we can apply even like in a small area like school, we can apply what is being done wrong and how we can fix them. I think that Bessie Head is a powerful writer, and she uses her knowledge as an advantage to expose the racial and gender discrimination that is founded in South Africa at this time, and she uses it to her advantage. I think that she is bold in doing and writing about these decisions. And the way that she does this is very, it's scary, but she does it to prove a point, to prove and show the oppression of the women and the complete mistreatment of South Africans. And I personally enjoyed all of her stories. I think it's really important to realize what is going on and to take something away from her writings, which is what literature is supposed to do. It's supposed to have us in shock, have us feeling some type of way. And I think that she expresses this so well through her stories. Thank you.